Okay, I integrated Gemini into my Android studios and I started playing around with it. And, I basically had a few bugs that I knew what the solutions were and I tested it. And, first thoughts are pretty positive. It's like very impressive. Like, I couldn't get location and it wasn't a permissions issue, but, I was able to solve that pretty fast. What else? It outputted the location and coordinates, and I asked it to translate it into city, state, country. I was able to do that really fast. I had another issue where sometimes my API calls to OpenAI would fail, and the reason was is that sometimes I was making two consecutive calls really fast, and that would glitch each other. So I had to ensure there was only one happening, and to have a backup in case that one failed. And the next bug it was able to fix was part of my game, where sometimes the shadows of the mobs would overlap other mobs, and visually it was very ugly. The issue was pretty simple: is that when I had like 500 skeletons on the screen, to conserve space and conserve resources, I said, well, if you're under skeletons, don't animate yourself, but you do exist. And I did this for skeletons, but I didn't do this independently for shadows. And it was able to fix that pretty well. But then it couldn't fix this bug where I had a ranged weapon that would hit some targets, but not all the targets. And it went down this rabbit hole of what it thought the issue was. And it was like, it made the assumption that once if there was multiple projectiles up, the first projectile information was lost. But that actually wasn't the root cause of the bug. The problem was visually the range weapon was up for 1 second, but inside the game it was only registered for half a second. So anything within the half-second radius would get hit, and anything outside that radius would just not get hit. And I think this is like my biggest problem with this workflow is that it's putting more emphasis on the agent doing more of the work. I guess like that's kind of cool because I do like how it crawls through my project and it brings up the relevant classes for itself. Like that's a big time saver. But at the same time, there's this hidden cost. Like I started coding before these tools, and like I understand my project architecture. And like now that it's pretty big in scope, when I revisit these sections, it's like a way to jog my memory about what's going on in this area. And by doing some of the lifting, I got a better mental picture of what I was actually looking for and what the solution should look like. So when I was chatting with the bot, I'd be like, I don't think this is right. Um, and now I feel like it wants to drive, and I think the problem is misalignment, right? Like, you know, just because you write down what you think the problem is doesn't mean it's correctly translated, right? Like maybe you didn't write it as accurately as you think you did, or the agent itself didn't interpret it the way it should have because like human language is pretty loosey goosey with the rules, and computers really like hard set rules. And once this agent thinks it knows what you want, it's just going to keep changing keep changing your code base to the solution it thinks. And I think that's risky because you're just you yourself are kind of losing sight of what the architecture is like. And I guess I don't know, it feels like this workflow feels like a siren, right? Like the agent, it sounds so confident in itself. It's so easy to accept the change. Like you don't even need to integrate it now into the code. And you can always revert it. And I just feel like if you let this agent go and do its thing, it's just going to eat something because it didn't understand what you wanted. And sort of like you fixed this one bug, but you might be causing 3 other downstream bugs. And if you're not familiar with your own architecture, you won't even notice. you want to immediately notice. I guess my thoughts are is that I'm still going to be Frankenstein in my own way to code. It's kind of obviously a mix of the old and the new, because like I still just you can't lose sight of how your project works, right? Like once that happens, I think it's just going to be a really frustrating experience trying to talk with the AI while it tries to debug, and you're going to be like fixing one bug, and then like other bugs will start popping up, and it's just going to be a really crazy experience. Yeah, that's my first thoughts with this new agent that's kind of integrated into Android Studios. Let me know what you guys think, what your experiences are. Maybe I'm just doing things wrong. You guys have like the top tier strats. So let me hear it. All right, thanks. And yeah, like and subscribe, please.